In the SoilValues project, we mainly see local public actors and farmers take on the costs of establishing a soil health business model. Do you have a different experience with that?
No, we have more or less similar experience with local actors, but sometimes it's not easy to apply some things because sometimes the local actors not want to join or want to merge with the things, and also sometimes the administration is not easy to have interaction or have to improve or help to improve this kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And when you implement a business model for soil health, how should the risks and the costs be shared among the different actors?
Yeah, sometimes it's not easy to understand the risk and the benefits, because sometimes the risks and benefits you only see after a big time about this. And sometimes the risks are understood, should be very careful with them. The potential benefits sometimes are okay, but otherwise you can find after a long time. But it's not easy to find a good balance between them, and sometimes it's needed to work a lot with this, really. In the case of agricultural, okay, the benefit is obviously about the crop production, reduce the fertilizers and that kind of things. But there are other kind of benefits about the ecosystem services that we have there that should be improved, and also the administration should be improved and help to the farmers about this.
Okay, thank you. And for the costs, in your opinion, who should share them with the farmers in the business models?
Probably help to the farmers with new sustainable models, with recovery of degraded areas, with improving the incentives to be more sustainable about this. That sometimes is not very easy, these kind of things, because the farmer usually wants to get the money and the less things there's, and sometimes about the ecological evaluations this not about in their mind. And this is a problem to implement this kind of business models about this, and sometimes only think about, it's about crop growth and these kind of things, and no more and more.
Could you tell us more about Lighthouse 2?
Yes, this lighthouse is a mining area, the Distrito Minero Cartagena La Unión in the south of Spain. This area has different soil health threats, for example, soil and water pollution, metallic and non-metallic contamination, hyper-acidification, null or low vegetation cover, null or low nutrients and organic content in this area. We established the phytostabilisation techniques, combining heavy metal-tolerant plants and the application of organic and inorganic amendments to reduce the heavy metal contamination and improve soil health.
Could you tell me more about Lighthouse 6 and InBestSoil projects?
Yes, so we have carried on this lighthouse on post-soil, post-sand and gravel mining site. So the problems there is the top soil removal, and as it happens in the mineral soil, and the slopes is quite the slopes is quite big, so there's happening erosion. So it needs to be restored, because as we saw also the examples that wasn't carried the active restoration, because of this erosion, there is no ongoing tree growing there. And that's why we carried out this restoration, which we fertilized the area and also replanted the trees there.
What does Europe's soil monitoring law change for farmers and local authorities in practice?
Well, we don't know that yet, because member states will have to implement the directive. So the soil monitoring directive just sets the framework, but then the implications for the farmers will depend on what member states do and how they implement it in practice.
Of course. And what next policy steps would most speed up private investments in soil health?
Well, I think that policy coherence and alignment between different policies would be really useful, because then the efforts would be optimized instead of having to measure different things according to different directives and policies. Then at least the efforts would all be towards the same indicators, for example.
The same goal.
Yeah, and the same goals and objectives.
How do you think practice-based payments should be combined with outcome-based rewards to balance farmers' risks?
That's an interesting question, and we have been thinking quite a lot about this, because with action-based payments, so payments that are just based on doing something, farmers are certain about the outcome, so they know that if they do cover crops, then they receive a payment. With results-based payments, they don't know if they will actually be rewarded. So they might have to spend money to measure things without having then reward. The thing that we are going to suggest and recommend with InBestSoil is that the efforts again are combined, so that, for example, indicators that will have to be measured for the soil monitoring directive or for other types of payments, those measurements will also be used to assess the effect of the farming practices. Like if you have to measure soil organic carbon for having the carbon credits, then indicators that are based on carbon could also be used to assess soil health. So not necessarily soil organic carbon content itself, but for example, in the soil monitoring directive, there is the soil organic carbon to clay ratio. That's one option, or other indicators that are based on carbon, like the observed to typical SOC ratio. That's a new thing that's coming out, and it's quite promising. So this would be, I think, a good way to balance the risk and the outcome